and you're here. So I was thinking we could do something a little fun before we get going. So before I get started, I'll show you some extra stuff before we get to the talk, if you'd like. Of the 13 of you, I kind of need to know: have you guys seen the have you already seen the questions or songs written in Python stuff? If you haven't seen that yet, then in your questions section on the go to meeting thing, you've got a little part where you can send me questions. So just send me a yes or a no. Let me know whether or not you have seen songs written in Python. Songs written in Python. Have you seen that presentation that I've done? Okay. All right, that's enough no's. Ha ha. All right, we'll do that then. We'll do that. So let me find that presentation. Songs written in Python. There you go. All right, so the deal here is this is a game. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some songs that have been written in Python, and you're going to have to guess the name of the song and put the song into the questions, right? So it's a competition, right? Whoever gets it first will be declared the awesome interpreter of Python songs, songs written in Python. All right. Let me see if I can make this window bigger for myself here. There you go. I can pop it out. All right, that way I can see your answers. All right, so here's the idea, right? So what song is that? Type it into your questions window. What song is expressed there in Python? This is one of the easy ones. So /n in Python, or when interpreted, is what? Enter Sandman. Yeah, enter Sandman. Okay, enter Sandman. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate it very much. Bruce. Oh, and Kevin. Kevin. Very well. Very good. Both of you got it at the same time. Enter the Sandman by Metallica. All right, you got the idea now. Okay. All right. How about this song written in Python? Brian comes in with the win on Forever Young by Rod Stewart. All right. How about this one, written in Python? What is this one? Don't Stop Believing. Well done, Brian. 2 points for Brian here. All right. So for those of you just joining us, we're playing songs written in Python. When you know the name of the song, it's been written in Python, then type it into your questions window. Again, this one was Don't Stop Believin' by Journey. All right, your next song written in Python is, this one's tough. Great song. If you already know it, if you've seen this thing before, then let the people who haven't seen this do it before, because I've done this for my last couple of webcasts, if you showed up early. The artist is Weezer. The artist is Weezer. Don't make me sing it. This song is I Got My Hash Pipe. So this is a Python dictionary, right? And with Python, you have dictionaries. The way you retrieve a value from a dictionary, you can think of it like a database. You give it a key and it returns back a value. So in this case, we're asking for the key of the word my, and we're getting back hashtag pipe, or I got my hash pipe. Well done, Brian. All right. How about this one? This one's tough. Python, we can use the random function to choose a random value between 0 and 1. It's going to return a floating point number between 0 and 1. So 0.5, that's right in the middle. So I'd say there's maybe a 50% chance that it's going to enter this if statement. 50% chance that it's going to enter this if statement. And then there's a function in there called me that it might call. This was, oh, Jacob. Jacob comes in with the correct answer. Call me maybe by Carly Jepson. Call me, 50% chance it's going to call the me function. Call me maybe. All right. How about this song written in Python? Can you identify the following song written in Python? Oh boy. The date time function can be used to create a date time object. And when you do, you can initialize it by telling it what year, month, day you would like to create a date for. So in this case, we are telling it to create a date time object for December 25th, but not this December 25th. Jacob, well done, Jacob. This is Last Christmas by Wham. Last Christmas by Wham. All right, can you identify the following song written in Python? This is harder, so pop music 2010. This one's tough. This one is tough. I've actually only ever had one person get this one right. This is only ever had one person get this one. Let's see. This is what's known as a list comprehension in Python. So we're generating a list that says, build a list that has I. For each I that's in the world, but only if the gender of I is equal to female. So we build this list. Ah, very good. Gary gets it. We build this list of everybody in the world that has a gender of female. We take the length of it, and its length is equal to 1. It is The Only Girl in the World by Rihanna. Well done, Gary. Like I said, now I've had 2 people get that one. Okay, how about this one? In Python, you can do a dir on a variable, and it'll show you the contents of the object that you are looking at. In this case, we are looking at it. Now, the name of the object, in this case, is today. And when you create objects, the way that you do that is you use the class statement. So what we have here is Jeremy spoke is in class today. This is Pearl Jam, Jeremy. Pearl Jam, Jeremy. All right, we got 2 minutes left. Let's see, I'm gonna skip that one. Here we go, we'll do this one. 2 minutes left. 55 of you here are playing songs written in Python. Identify the following song written in Python. We import the time method, and we import the random method. We create a list of things. This list contains the words Staten Island, Manhattan, Brooklyn, and Queens. And then while true, oh, well done, Kevin. Kevin got it. Yep. Christopher got it as well. All right, so forever, what we're going to do is we're going to choose a random, we're going to call random.choice, which is going to choose one random thing from this list of destinations here. And if the thing that it chose starts with a character 66, a capital A is the letter 65, a capital B is the letter 66. So if the destination that it chooses starts with the letter 66, it will sleep. But if it does not, then, well, it's just going to stay in this while loop forever. So this one is no sleep till Brooklyn. No sleep till Brooklyn. Well done. Well done. All right. Let's see. What does this one say? This one is classic rock. Classic rock. This one's threading. Let me find an easier one here. Let's see. No, let's not do that one. Not that one. No, no, no. How about this one? Pop 19. Oh no, let's not do pop here. All right, here's one. Let's do some hip hop 2002. Hip hop 2002. The artist is Missy Elliott. Missy Elliott. Okay, we got to get through these because it's time to start here. This one's Missy Elliott. This is I'll work it. I'll put my thing down, flip it, and reverse it. In Python, you can reverse strings. Yep, you can reverse strings by doing a square bracket, colon, 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 -1. What happened to my negative sign on there? I should have done a negative sign on there. Okay, last one. Here we go. We're going to wrap it up with this one. For those of you just joining us, we're about to get started here on our conference. We're playing songs written in Python. So I've got a song here that's been written in the Python programming language, and you have to tell me what is the name of the song. All right, here I've got a function. Function's name is give. Function's name is give. James has got it. All right, we choose a random letter. If the letter is not equal to a U, then we return the uppercase version of it. Otherwise, we do nothing. So forever, we're going to just sit there in a loop, and we're going to call U, or we're going to call give. And give is never going to give you up. Yep, never going to give you up. All right, so we end it with a Rickroll, and then we say, all right, welcome to this broadcast. Thank you for coming out. I appreciate your time. We're just having a little bit of fun playing songs written in Python. My name is Mark Baggett, and I am the course author of SANS SEC573. Just going to talk to you a little bit about some of the updates that have come to the course, how the course has changed over the time. Try and give you some reasons that you can give to your employer to suggest to them why you should come take this class, because I know that that is always an important discussion. Why should I convince my employer to tell me or to send me to this class? So I want to give you some ammunition for that, and tell you about the updates. And most of all, I'm a sales guy. I'm not a sales guy. I love teaching this stuff. I love interacting with people and showing you cool things that we can do with Python. So I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview. Then we'll jump into some Python. I'll actually go over some of the course updates and some of the material in the time that we have. Okay, just a little bit about myself. My name is Mark Baggett. I do penetration testing. I do incident response. For the last 10 years now, I've been spending about half of all of my time on a contract for the Department of Defense as they stand up their military training programs for their new cyber warriors, and been involved in the development of those programs. I'm a senior instructor for SANS. I'm the course author for 573, which is Automating Information Security with Python. I got my master's degree, and I've been doing this for a while now. The thing at the bottom is pretty cool. My name actually appears in the source code for Metasploit 7 times, even though I've never written a module for Metasploit. Actually, it appears there because people in our industry have been kind enough to give me credit for some research or some ideas that I presented at conferences that they went and developed tools to implement. So thanks to the community for that. So first, let's start out with, why should your employer want to send you to 573? And I think that the argument I would give you to give to your employers that you can come and take this awesome class is that, well, you are a valuable commodity, and hiring people like you is hard to do. And so a better approach than finding another highly paid, highly skilled employee would be to enable you to automate those skills that you have, right? To build the tools that can, well, enable your workforce to focus on the things that can't be done by routine systems. For right now, we're in a bit of an odd situation with us working from home and many organizations letting go a lot of their employees. But even with that, in general, the information security community has done better and fared better than many other people that are in the workforce today. And that's because up until this point, we've had this tremendous shortage of skilled information security professionals, right? And if you look at just the growth of projections for the number of positions that are going to be created in this industry and the number of people that are coming out of school that are graduating with these skills, right? We've got this ever expanding gap of people who can fill these positions in the workplace. And so for us, working smarter, not harder, becomes, well, the mantra for us means developing code, right? If we can take the people who have information security skills and get them to write tools that they can give to our level 1 technologists who are brand new to information security and perhaps not the people who are out doing the threat hunting and really digging into these things. If we can write tools and give it to them and empower that level of the workforce to do a better job, then we can all focus our attention on the things that can't be completed by some mindless script, right? So automation is really the only way that we can keep up with this never-ending growth curve that we have in our industry. So the case to make for your employers here, and why should I go and take this 573 class, this Automating Information Security with Python class, is just that, right? She can spend another $200,000 on another employee all in with benefits and things like that, or they can get you trained up where you can begin writing tools that are just gonna make your workforce that more efficient in what you do. For us personally, the thing about information security and why that's a skill, or automation of information security, and why that's a skill that we all want is, I like this case that actually Alan Pauler, the founder of SANS, makes. One of the things that he's really focused on is how do we address this workforce issue? How do we get out there and get ahead of this curve? And we've got many interesting programs that we've got where we're tied into these Girls Who Code, Girls Go Cyber, where they're reaching out and they're to the workforce and trying to find young women and young children in high school and middle school and get them interested in this field. And really, they're measuring people, they're assessing people on these two different skill sets, right? They're saying who are the people that really have the aptitude, right? And measuring aptitude is a set of interesting challenges, but SANS in their cyber talent assessment has come up with a pretty interesting way of doing that, that actually correlates pretty well to success in the field. So they're measuring people's aptitude on this scale here, and then they're measuring their InfoSec skills on the scale here. And what they're finding is, you've got this upper right-hand quadrant of people who have high aptitude and high skills, and these are really the people that everybody's trying to hire, right? Everybody's fighting for all the people in this upper right-hand quadrant. And then what SANS is trying to do is trying to find the people that have this strong aptitude, but not necessarily the skills, and they're trying to train them to move them over here into this quadrant, right? And as they're doing this, they're looking at all the attributes that different information security professionals have, and they're saying, what is it about the folks in the upper right-hand quadrant that really makes them unique? When you look at the top echelon, the people that are the ones that are, you know, setting the trends in the industry, who are you know, really making a difference in what's going on in the industry, the ones that all the employers are after, what are the attributes that make them stand out? And what Alan will present and say is that, you know, he finds that all the people in this upper right-hand quadrant, they share these same 3 attributes. They are exceptional at systems administration, right? So they know their Linux, they know their Windows, they know how those operating systems work, they know how to secure those operating systems. And another attribute that they all have is that they're exceptional at network-based communicators. They understand how different systems communicate, right? They understand the TCP protocols, they understand what an intrusion detection system is, how to configure those intrusion systems, how to collect logs in centralized ways that they can monitor these attacks across the networks. And the third skill that that I find that all of the people in this upper right-hand quadrant have is coding, right? That they can automate their skills, they can provide tools to those people that work for them so that they can be more efficient in getting their jobs done. So if we want to be in this upper right-hand quadrant, then, well, then developing those coding skills in ourselves, it's the skill that I think really differentiates people in this industry, because so many people are timid when it comes to trying to take on this skill set, right? I tried programming in college, and well, it sucked. It wasn't fun. It wasn't me. And oftentimes that holds people back from coding. Well, I think at 573, I've really tried to take that into consideration and make the course fun, make the course compelling. I think one of the reasons that it's so boring in college is often because of the lack of practical application of when do I use this? What good is this going to be? And what we try and do with the SANS promise is to always show you how you can use these skills when you get back to work the next day. So for us personally, in our personal growth, if coding is a skill that you're missing, then it's something you try. So, but why Python? Why not PowerShell? I would say absolutely, you should learn PowerShell, right? PowerShell is a great language. You should know PowerShell. Everybody should know PowerShell. But here's the thing: if you don't know how to code yet, right? What's the language to learn first? Right? If you understand how to code, you can jump back and forth between languages. It's just a matter of syntax. If you have the logical understanding of how a program flows, right? How to make conditional branches, how to create functions, how to create modules, how to organize your code, then transitioning from PowerShell to Python is, it's not that difficult to do it. Right. And so when it comes to, all right, if you're going to learn to code, what language should you take on? I think that there's a compelling argument that can be made that says Python is the easier of the languages, right? PowerShell is a great language, and it's it's considerably more complex. It is a design goal of Python to make the language fun and easy to learn. Python, another reason to learn Python is because it is the most popular programming language today, right? And where do I get this? I'm basing this based on the number of projects that are committed to GitHub, right? If you haven't seen it, here, let me post this into chat. I've got a couple of links here. Oh, let's see here. There's one link, 2 links. Oh, come on now. You can cooperate with me. Why is that not highlighting? Highlight, Control C. All right, let me see if I can post that into the chat window here. Paste. All right, there's 2 links for you to consider. That'll just give you some information. This is some of my sources for why Python is the most programming language. This is based upon just the number of commits to GitHub, right? And you've probably seen that YouTube video that's out there that shows the growth of languages over years. That, you know, Python has now overtaken Java as the most widely used programming language on the internet. It's the most popular based upon use on GitHub, and there's other graphs that will show you the percentage of programmers with efficiencies in that language. So as they just look at the industry and they say, what is it that people are coding in? Python is out there. It's also #1 as far as the amount of open job requisitions. If you look at what people are trying to hire, well, Python is it. The other thing is, even Microsoft, PowerShell, I love PowerShell. I'm not going to say anything bad about PowerShell. But I think that when it comes to what language should I take on first, I think it's Python. And the reason, one point I'll make in that case is even that Python is embraced, or Microsoft's embraced Python in many circumstances. When you look at some of the projects that they're posting on the Azure cloud and things like that, things like Microsoft Mechanic was released, and all of the APIs to interface with their online tools. Well, in the case of Mechanics and some others, it's a Python first API release. So the tools to interface with their systems are released first with Python, and PowerShell comes secondary to Python when it comes to interfacing with their APIs. So Microsoft themselves, because of the cloud-based scenario, you'll find that it's sometimes you'll see that there are Python first releases on their tool sets. Another thing is, the most compelling reason for me to know why I'm going to use PowerShell, or why I'm going to use PowerShell, is because PowerShell is installed by default on every Windows system. So the question is, are we going to get to the point where Microsoft installs Python on every Windows system? And I say, I don't know, right? I'll say if you've installed the Windows subsystem for Linux, then you've got Python on there already. Also, if you got application aliases, execution aliases on your system. So with the most recent Microsoft security updates, you'll see now that Python is actually installed as an application alias, right? I've turned mine off here because I've got some Python programs on here, but when Python is run as an application alias, when you type Python at a command prompt or at the start button, now what it'll do is it'll take you out to Microsoft's App Store and ask you to install Python from Microsoft. So they've now turned this on as a default on all Windows systems, and this is a privilege that they've limited to, well, what you can see here, plus one or two others: Microsoft Edge, Spotify, and Python. Right? So Microsoft themselves has really embraced Python in recent months, and I expect that we'll continue to see that growth, them continue to embrace that, perhaps to the point where we may even see Python on Windows in the future. So let me tell you about a little bit about the history of 573 and where we've come over the years. When 573 was first released way back in 2010, it was written specifically in Python 2. Right? We talked about Python 3 and some of the things that were different about it, but we were developing Python 2 applications. But it was shortly after the release that the course was rewritten such that we started writing code in Python 3, but we would write the code in a way that it would be compatible with Python 2. See, up until 2020 of this year, Python 2 and Python 3 were both actively supported by the Python Consortium. And today, even today, if you are on a Linux system and they are following Python standards, right? PEP394 is the Python standard that says what should happen on a Linux system when you type the word Python. Even today, even though Python 2 is no longer supported, Python 2 is the correct default interpreter on Linux systems, according to PEP394. Now, I hope that we're going to see that change sometime in the near future, but for the longest time, right, what we've been teaching in 573 is, let me teach you how to write code that works in Python 3. But we're going to do it in a way that if somebody runs it using the default interpreter on Linux, which is Python 2, that your code also works. Right? When we're talking about incident response, forensics work, and even penetration tests, right? many times it's not an option for you to go into a system that's been compromised or a system that you want to collect forensics artifacts on and say, let me install additional third-party modules, or if this thing has Python 2 on it, let me install Python 3 for it to run my scripts. So compatibility across those platforms was the focus of this class. Because of that, we had to somewhat limit the ability to talk about some cool, awesome features that are in Python 3, well, that just wouldn't work in both languages, right? And so today, with Python 2 being end of life in January of this past year, today the course 100% focuses on teaching Python 3 and upgrading your tools from 2 to 3. Now there's arguments about, well, I can't go and put Python code on or I can't put Python 3 on a system that's been compromised that I need to collect artifacts on is still true, right? So we still are going to teach you, right, those things that are unique about Python 3 and those things that you would need to worry about if you're going to make your code work on both 2 and 3, but we do it in the context of teaching you to upgrade that old program, those old programs from Python 2 to Python 3. So that's where we have the discussion. But what this does mean is that, well, as we're writing these new tools, we can now focus on some of the new awesome features that are in Python 3 that we held off on previously in the class. And we still identify them so that if you just give a word of warning that, hey, if you use this, you're using a component that will only work in, say, Python 3.5 or above, which Python 3.5 has been out there for a while and it's pretty standard on many systems. But if you come across some older systems, then using this feature is will put you in a box where you're going to have to use these things. And today, 573 is being offered where we're teaching exclusively Python 3, and right now it's being offered in an environment exclusively online. But this new online platform, it has some significant advantages when it comes to this course, because one of the most difficult parts of teaching a Python class that, well, meets you where you are and teaches you the essentials of coding plus some advanced coding concepts in a week is that it's a week, right? With the online program that we're now offering, you get the same instruction that you had at normal SANS conferences. The instruction is recorded throughout the day, but at the end of the week, I don't take a laptop home that has all the labs and exercises on it. Well, two things. One is in your virtual machine, you're going to have a copy of all the labs and VMs so that you can do those, well, forever. All of the labs that are part of this course are in your VM that you get a copy of. Plus, you get 4 months of extended access to SANS online environment, which is going to give you access to capture the flag challenges. And well, there's 2 different capture the flags that are in this course. There's a capture the flags for days 1 through 5, which you'll have extended access to, and there's there's the capstone event in day 6. And so you'll have 4 months of access to all these things. Plus, now you're getting electronic copies of the book. I really like having electronic copies of these books because, well, I use them as a reference all the time. As I'm coding, I will go back to the 573 books and look at the coding examples and things like that. And the ability to copy and paste the code samples from the book into my programs has always been a benefit to me that now I'm glad that the rest of you can share in, because you can get electronic copies of those books as well. So here's kind of an overview of the course, right? The course is a 6-day class. In that 6-day class, we're going to break it down into 2 different components. The first 2 days of the class are the Essentials Workshop. The Essentials Workshop assumes absolutely no knowledge of coding whatsoever, right? I'm going to talk from the very beginning. Let me tell you what a variable is, right? The goal of this course is to teach the rest of the information security community who has perhaps been a little apprehensive about learning code that it's not too bad to dip your toe into this water. It is a skill that everyone can obtain and that we all need in today's workplace. So we're going to assume no knowledge, and we're going to go through all of the essentials of coding. Now, if you already know how to code and you hear that I'm going to spend 2 full days on teaching the essentials, then you're like, all right, this course is not for me. But hold on just a minute, because the course is self-paced, right? What you'll find is that I'm going to introduce I'm going to introduce a lab environment to you at the beginning of day 1 and 2. That's going to let you accelerate through all of the essentials And what you'll see with one of the upcoming slides I'm going to show you is that the majority of people who already know how to code will finish all of the materials from days 1 and 2 in the first, first half of the first day, or at least by the first day. And by day 2, they're working on many of the advanced concepts that you see that we cover through days 3 and 5. And some even go beyond that into some advanced cryptography and other challenges that I've got set aside in a capture the flag that is specifically created for those who are working ahead of the material. So we have a 2-day workshop, and then we've got days 3 to 5, which are continuous learning projects. We'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. And then day 6 is a capture the flag. But in the 2-day essentials, we're going to, as I said, assume no knowledge of this. We're going to give an introduction to Python, the different types of variables you have, how to print what a variable is, different numeric variables, how to interact with them. And you'll see throughout this, you'll see Pywars, where we're going to have lots and lots of hands-on labs. I think that the only way that you really learn how to code is by doing it. And so this course is focused on making sure I've given you lots of hands-on labs to work through the material. After we cover those essentials, then we continue to discuss topics that everybody needs to know in information security, right? How to read files off of the hard drive, how to interact with databases, how to read information from websites, download content from websites and process that data. How to interact with the Windows registry, how to communicate across the network, how to run processes or run other commands and capture the output of that, and then parse out the data and use it. All of those concepts, I wrap them up into themes for each of the day. Right? So day 3 has a defensive theme. So our file I/O day is we're going to read files. We're going to learn how to read log files. We're going to learn how to pull IP addresses, user agent strings, use regular expressions to parse data out of log files, and then do some analysis techniques in order to find evil in our logs based upon techniques that we teach in other SANS classes like 555 tactical sims and 511 continuous monitoring. So we're going to apply the automation of things you learn in those classes in day 3. But again, the focus is on teaching the skill of interacting with files and building that skill up. Day 4, we have a forensics theme. Really, the idea here is how to collect pieces of data from various sources, pull it together, and, well, present tools that'll do some automation there. We talk about how to carve out binary data structures. We talk about how to interface with registries and Windows databases and accessing websites and tie all this together. Day 4, one of our projects is we're going to read information from the Windows registry. We're going to find wireless access points. We'll look up the dates and times that wireless access points were located, and then we will geolocate this to build a tool that is a laptop tracker. So given a laptop, you'll be able to identify all the locations where that laptop was taken. Day 5 is our offensive theme, where we talk about network communications. We talk about executing processes on systems, interacting with processes on the systems, where we're going to build a backdoor. We're also going to introduce the concepts of object-oriented coding, different types of network communications, such as blocking sockets and non-blocking sockets, and how to handle errors through exception handling. And then, of course, day 6, as with all SANS classes, we're going to have a capstone event, where we're going to work through as teams a bunch of different programming challenges, and of course there's a coin that you're going to have as a prize to the winning teams. As I said, there's a variety of students that I want to address with this class, and I've designed this course so that whether you're a beginner or you're an advanced coder, you're going to be able to sit in that same class and, well, I'm going to meet you where you are and then advance your skills on. So how do I do that? Well, I'm going to do that by giving you lots of hands-on labs, and the labs are going to be self-paced. Most of the time, I'm going to get, many of the labs I'm going to give you are going to be fill in the blank, where I'll write a large portion of the code, and you'll have to finish up a couple of key sections. I'll ask advanced coders who are more skilled to, well, erase other portions or to ignore parts of my code so that they can challenge themselves by writing more of the program than I provide them. But the biggest thing that I use to level the playing field is Pywars, the self-paced learning environment. So what ends up happening is when we come to the labs on day 1, I'll say, all right, let's work through lab 1, and lab 1 is actually going to be labs 0 through 6, right? And there's 6 challenges that make up that first lab. And if you're new to coding, then I would say, all right, only expect to finish about 33% of those 6, right? So you might only finish 0, 1, 2, and 3 during the 30 minutes that I give you to work through those labs. Whereas an advanced coder who's been coding for a while is going to finish more of them. Now, you get to take all of those additional labs home with you. So as if you take this course as a beginner, you might only finish 50% of all the labs. You take home another 50% of the labs with you. And then you can continue to build your skills when you get home. Now, if you're thinking about the GPYC certification, right? The GPYC certification, I would say, if you want to finish the GPYC certification, then as a beginner, your plan would be to come and finish about 50% of all the labs while you're there. Go back and use those other 50% of the labs to continue to build your skills when you get back to work, so that you're ready for this. You're ready for the exam. Now, in this online environment, it's significantly different, right? Because your access to my labs, the laptop that I bring into class and leave with at 5 o'clock, well, it doesn't go away at 5 o'clock. It is online. The people that I just sat down with class, that I just had class with last week, right, they still have access to the same lab environment, and they're still able to work through the different challenges that they were working through last week. Now, veteran coders who have been coding for a while, when they come in, they're going to finish all of day 1's lab and usually all of day 2's lab sometime in the middle of day 1. And then they'll begin working on day 3's lab, the labs that are usually associated with day 3, sometime in day 2. So they get to work at their own pace and work ahead through the material as they see fit, right? And get to a point where they challenge themselves. Now, as I said, there's only 5 days of labs, right? So what happens when you finish all those? Well, I've got an additional 20 plus capture the flag challenges that are out there for the advanced coders. And I'll award a coin to any of the advanced coders who actually come to the class and are able to work through all of the challenges in the time that we have. Now, in the online environment, that becomes a little bit different because, well, you have 24-hour access to it rather than 8-hour access to it. So it's a certain number of advanced coders. But even with that, right, even so far, I haven't had anyone who's finished all of the labs, because my goal is to give you more content in this course than you can possibly do in a week, and then let you take it back to work and continue to build your skills as you get back to work. Okay. All right. I think I'm getting a question here. Let me see. Let's see. No. All right. All right, but the majority of students, what they typically have an approach where they listen to the lecture, they work through the labs that they get through. They'll usually have a portion of the labs that they don't finish as they're going through the exercises. Here's just a couple of quotes from the people that were in my class just last week, taking it in the online environment where we're delivering this stuff. First person, I've got these in order from some experienced coders and some people who are new to coding. So one of the people who was brand new to coding said, I did not assume that we came with any, or talking about the course, it did not assume that we came with any Python skills, and it built up from there. Greatly helped me over my fear of code, which was so heartwarming to me, because really that is the goal of this, to reach the information security community and get us to embrace automation so we can be more efficient in our jobs. This course is everything I was hoping for. The main thing that most alternate Python training programs lack is direct application. This course is overflowing with it, and in the context of various jobs and non-job related use cases. We covered everything from packet analysis to COVID-19 statistical analysis today. So just during some of the extra labs and breaks, I would show some projects, and we did some we wrote a quick program to download all of the latest test data from a World Health Organization and do some Python code to break that out and generate some reports in one of the breakout sessions. I came into this class with a pretty decent understanding of the basics of Python, but I have learned something new around every turn that the course is taken. I would recommend this course to anyone wanting to learn more about Python in the field of security. This is the best course I've taken on coding in terms of labs, communications, content, and application. This is a must-take course for no matter what discipline of study. Right, so these are just some quotes from last week's class. Right, now the course does really focus on, well, many of the changes. If you're today a Python 2 coder, if you've been coding in Python 2 for years, and now you're looking at the fact that, well, Python 3 is king and Python 2 is now end of life, I'm going to show you, right, those things that you really need to focus on to update your skills from Python 2 to Python 3. So let's just go over some of that here. I want to actually give you guys some examples of some content that we have here. First of all, when you're coming from Python 2 to Python 3, we will talk about using tools that are going to make converting your programs easier. There's a tool called 2 to 3 that's going to go through and automatically fix stuff. But the problem is that 2 to 3, it's got a lot of things that it doesn't fix, right? There's changes in the programming language. There's new data structures that have been introduced that it just can't accommodate for. So for example, now in Python 2, the biggest challenge for someone who's coming into Python 3 from Python 2 is the fact that, well, Python 2, everything was a string, and in Python 3, you now have these Unicode strings, UTF-8. You have bytes and byte arrays, and they all behave differently. You have a lot of functionality that was in Python 2 that's been, well, eliminated and moved into different modules in Python 3. And so understanding those things are all different challenges that you're going to face as you move from Python 2 to Python 3, and I try to cover those. Just to give you an example of what I mean by this is just one of the slides that talks about this. In Python 2, right, everything was a string. There was no such thing as Unicode or byte strings, which meant that, well, all the code you see here on the left, this would work just fine in Python 2. Right? In Python 2, I could go into the codex module, and I could call the encode function. I could tell it to encode the word hello as base 64. In Python 2, it worked just fine. But in Python 3, well, Python 3, this argument now has to be a byte string, right? So you're going to have to go through all your code, and you're going to have to put little B's in front of your strings to make them byte strings. Now, if you don't know the difference between byte strings and strings, I'll help you to understand that in Python in the course. Right, and it's not just the input, right? Here's an example of a function that, well, the input has changed to the function. But also you've got, well, things that the output has changed. So codex.decode, it always returned a string in Python 2, but now it returns bytecode or bytes in Python 3. What that means is if you have programs that look something like this, if the result of calling requests.get, which goes out to SANS Internet Storm Center and gets the infocon status, right? So get the content from that website, and then if it's equal to infocon read, then print runaway, right? So this would work just fine in Python 2 because, well, we're comparing a string to a function that returns a string. But now that you take that same program and you run it in Python 3, it's going to work. The functions are all the same, and 2 to 3 wouldn't go in and change anything about this program. It would say, oh, all of that is syntactically exactly the same in Python 2 and Python 3. But the problem is, now that you run this in Python 3, request.get, well, the dot content here is going to give you back bytes and not a string. So when you compare a string of infocon to bytes, they're no longer equal, which means this code now no longer prints runaway when the infocon is read, pretending that the infocon ever went read. I love that SANS Internet Storm Center is so disciplined about the rubric that they use on the infocon, such that if the infocon goes yellow, you know that it's a pretty serious day, and there's some things that really require your attention with regard to with the infocon, right? Let me see. Let me just look at some of the questions we got here. I got some more content I want to show you. Let me see. Sorry. Let's scroll back up here. I got lots of questions. Let's see. What are some good what are some good Python InfoSec beginner projects that we can use to sink our teeth into? What again is the aptitude test? I'll talk a little bit more about the aptitude test a little bit afterwards. The name of the aptitude test is Cyber Talent. What are some good projects? I would say, well, work on what you're passionate about, right? Look at the problems that you have around you and then just dive into solving one of those. Just say, I'm going to solve this problem that I have in front of me, right? So pick a problem that you need to solve. If you are just looking for something that's fun, I've got a talk that I've done recently on another SANS at Night talk called The Hacker's Apprentice, which is all about doing some home automation with Python programming. If you're interested in just a beginner's project, that would be a good project to do. But I would just encourage you to take on any project.
Hey, Mark, I'm not hearing you right now. Can you guys send me a notice in the questions window letting me know if I'm the only one who cannot hear him? Okay, other people cannot hear Mark as well. All right, let me see if I can get his attention. All right, at the moment, it looks like Mark Baggett is offline. He has lost his internet. So if you could just hang in there for a moment, let's see if we can get him back on. I'm not sure if he lost power or what happened. So just hang in there and we'll see if he rejoins. All right, I see that we lost his webcam, so let's see if we give him a moment to rejoin. All right, looks like Mark is back. Thanks everyone for your patience. Welcome back, Mark. We can see you. Mark?
Hello.
Hey, we can hear you too.
The microphone's working now?
Yes. You were offline for a moment there.
Okay. All right. So we are back on. So I'm going to hang up with you here then. Sorry.
I think I'm hearing you through the telephone, actually.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. So,
and
all right,
if
so
you could stop sharing your webcam, I think that's going to help too. It's frozen at the moment.
Okay. Webcam
right,
stopped.
All right. Now
all right.
Going.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All right. Sorry about that. I'm in Georgia. I'm in Augusta, Georgia, and we had some tornadoes go through the area yesterday. It didn't affect my house, but apparently I didn't have internet until not long before the talk here. So I apologize for that. Let's see, are there any offensive labs before day 5? Yeah, so all of the concepts that we have throughout the entire course, I'll give you examples of how you can do things. For example, when it comes to reading files, when it comes to parsing through binary data, when it comes to interfacing with databases, obviously SQL injection, right? Building binary structures for for doing buffer overflows. There is all the concepts that have been chosen are really focused on teaching you the concepts, and we'll give examples of the practical application, but we don't, they're not necessarily concepts that only apply to offensive, defensive, and or a particular vertical market. Let's see, trying to scroll past all the questions that say, I cannot hear him. Let's find the other ones. Let's see. Are there any introductory Python books that you recommend? I don't necessarily recommend any Python books before coming to the class. The course is going to assume that you don't necessarily have language, and I'm going to give you everything that you need starting from the very beginning. Of course, the more you come in to the course with, then the more you're going to, the more quickly you're going to be able to accelerate through the material. If you wanted to go through an introduction to Python, there are plenty of good free introductions to Python out there on the internet, like Code Academy's Python courses is an excellent overview of just the fundamentals of how to code in Python, and then I'm going to show you the practical application of those in information security. Regarding the GIAC certification for this course, are the test questions limited to what is presented in the courseware? Yes, of course. With all GIAC exams, the information is going to be focused on the concepts that are taught in the book. So what is in the book is what you're going to be tested on. The question was, how does the electronic books work with the GIAC exams? Can you take electronic copies into the book? No, it's still just open book. So the way that works is you're going to get the books electronically, and then if you also purchase the GIAC bundle, then if you purchase the GIAC bundle, then I think you can apply to have the printed books shipped to you. I think the main reason for the electronic books is with the logistics of shipping and the things that are going now where everybody's relying on UPS for delivery of groceries, and I think it's the only way you can actually get toilet paper these days. We're competing with that, so we're delivering the books electronically to make sure you have them at the start of your class. This also gives you the flexibility of, you can sign up for courses, the day before and still have everything you need on the day of class. Whereas if we were shipping you books, it's just not possible. So you get them electronically, and then you'll have options for getting those printed copies later if you sign up for the GIAC bundle. This is my understanding of how that works. Okay. All right. So we've got just a couple of minutes left here. And so I wanted to show you a little bit more of the Python3 content that's actually in the course. Okay, and if I'm dialing with my ear, I apologize. I'm holding my phone up to my head and trying to type here at the same time. So let's take a look a little bit more at some of the Python3 related kind of materials that you've seen. Now, if you're not familiar with Python, if you haven't seen the programming before, then some of this stuff is not necessarily going to make sense to you. Keep in mind that I'm going to jump straight into day 3's material, right, and show you some of the things that you would see after covering all of the essentials of the language. But I do want to give you a feel for the kind of things that we're going to talk about. Okay, so we're going to talk just briefly about how to read files in Python, file input, file output. Now, as I said, reading data from a hard drive is an essential skill that you need in just about every vertical within information security. If you're a forensics analyst, obviously we can all pretty easily see where a forensics person needs to be able to read forensics artifacts that are sitting on a hard drive. Hunt teamers, right, being able to look around for artifacts that are on a hard drive that are related to a given attack on your network. Incident handlers, right, looking through logs, determining how attackers got in. Penetration testers, searching for files on the hard drive that contain sensitive data like social security numbers or passwords and other information. How do you automatically go through this information, or go through a hard drive, opening files and reading the contents of those files? So we're going to go through in this first section, we go through a set of exercises and we try to automate the processes or the techniques that are taught in SANS 503, which is in-depth packet or intrusion detection in depth, and SENS511 continuous monitoring. We're going to open up files. We're going to use regular expressions to parse out useful pieces of data. And then after we've done that, we then turn around to talk about how to read through packet captures, PCAP files, and do the same thing with them. So the basics of file I/O with Python are what you see here on the screen, right? There's traditionally with Python 2, this works in Python 2 as well as Python 3. There's two ways of opening a file. You can call the open function. You then give it the path to a file, and then you can give it a file mode. The mode can be something like read, write, or append. And you can also tell it whether or not you want to open things up in text mode or binary mode. So you'd say open, give it a path, and you give it a mode. And what this is going to give you back is it's going to give you back a variable that contains a file handle. This file handle you can use to interact with the file. You can use the file handle and say file handle.read the contents of the file, or file handle.write the contents of the file. So this is the way that we've always opened up files with Python traditionally. Now, a couple of years ago, different Python interpreters started standing up, like Iron Python, which is Python written on top of the Microsoft.NET framework, or JSON, which is actually a Python interpreter that's written in Java. Well, those different interpreters, they handled the tracking of files or variables that you're no longer using differently. It's with a process that we call in programming garbage collection. Their garbage collection worked differently. And so what would happen is if you took a traditional Python program that used this syntax and you ran it through a JSON or an Iron Python interpreter that handled garbage collection differently, sometimes files, the interpreter wouldn't know that the file was no longer in use, and it led to some odd programming circumstances. So Python introduced this other syntax for opening files, which we call a context manager. So with a context manager, what you'd say is with open some file as a file handle. And you put a colon, and you'd indent beneath that statement. You indent all of the lines that are going to be used to interact with the file beneath that statement. And Python knows that when you're done executing all of the code that's indented beneath the word with, when you're no longer executing those lines, it knows you're done with the lines, so it can free up the resources. So this older syntax, this works on, every version of Python that's out there that is based upon the traditional CPython. If you're downloading a traditional Python interpreter, you're never going to have any problems with this first syntax. But the second syntax, if you're using JSON or Iron Python, this is going to be the cross-interpreter way of writing these different these file open routines. So you use one of these two to open up a file. And once you get this file handle, we can do a dir on file handle and see all the different things that are attached to file handle that we can use to do to a file. Like I can close a file, or I can read a file, or I can read line a file, read lines, write lines. These are all different functions I can use to call and interact with that file. So for example, if I wanted to go through every line that we have in a file in Python, I can create a file handle, and I can say with one line at a time in the file, and I can use a for loop to go through this. Now I realize that we haven't talked about for loops. Again, keep in mind that I'm jumping straight into day 3's material here. I can also open up a file, and then I can call read lines. If I call read lines, what that does is it takes the entire contents of a file and it puts it into what's a data structure called a list for me. I could also call read, which would let me read the entire file in as one big string. I can also write to files as well. But this is what I wanted to show you here. And this is the biggest difference between Python 2 and Python 3 that trips up people who are just making the conversion to Python 2 from Python 2 to Python 3. And that is this. All right, let's say that I have a Python. Let's just open up a Python terminal window here. All right, and in here, no, let's not use this VM. Let's use this VM. All right, file, open tab. All right, Python. Now let's do this. This one is, let me open up another one here and do Python 2. Now in Python 2, if I try to open up a file and it's got binary data in it, let's see, open bin bash, right? The bash program, I'm going to open up a copy of the bash prompt, which is obviously a binary program. It's an executable that's on the hard drive. If I try to open that and read it in Python 2, and we're going to put the contents into this variable called file content. Notice it worked just fine, right? And so if I look at file content, and let's just look at the first 100 or 1,000 bytes of that, I can see that it worked just fine. Read that file in. Here's the different bytes that make up that file. Here I can see it's an ELF file, so it's a Linux binary. Python 2, it works just fine. Now you're that same Python developer, you say, all right, I know how to do this. Let me do this in Python 3. And so over here, we come over and say file content equals open bin bash. And let's open that content and let's read it. And I get this traceback error. It says, hey, I don't know how to interpret these bytes that I'm coming across in here. And so the problem is that Python now interprets everything as a Unicode character. And what we're seeing here is that, well, when it gets to position 40 inside of the file, it sees that there's a hexadecimal value of 0x80, which it can't interpret as a UTF-8 character. Now, the easy fix for this in Python 2 is we change the mode. By default, it's going to try and read these things in and read them as text, interpreting the UTF-8. So this mode, they've got this new mode in Python 3, which says, read these in and leave it alone. Don't try and interpret the characters. Just read it and read the file and give me back bytes, RB. And so when we add the mode, well, now we can look at our file content and we can look at those first 1,000 bytes and it has read those files in. Okay, but what you'll find here is that when we get into we can go into the different characters. And we'll dig into this even further when we get into it in Python in the full course, where we'll actually look at the characters and see how the UTF-8 interpretation is being done in Python 3 versus Python 2. Now, another thing that they've introduced in Python 3 is a new way to open up files that's, well, it's going to give you another option that solves our context managers, and it makes working with files and bytes even easier. And that is the Pathlib module. So in Python 3, 5 and later, 3, 4 and later, what I can do is I can import the Pathlib module. What Pathlib does is it lets me open files. So I can say file content equals open, or excuse me, pathlib.path, and then I can give it a file to contents, the path to a file, such as bin bash. Right? And this creates, well, I shouldn't have called it FC or file content. This is going to be a path. Let me give it a better name here, a path. Now I can ask that things like a path, does it exist? Does the path that I just specified exist on the hard drive? Exist, a path, exists, sorry, execute it. So it's true, it does exist on the hard drive. Is it a file? It is true. Is it a directory? It is not a directory. And I can do other things such as to say, all right, now read the bytes that are inside of that file. And what read bytes does is it's going to open up the file and allow me to read through the contents of that file the same way that, well, open did in Python 2. It's going to open it up, read the bytes, and give me back a value. And I don't have to worry about the context managers and things like that that would make this thing cross-interpreter compatible. So let's just say file content equals that read bytes, and then I can look at file content, the first 1,000 bytes. So these are all different options you've got for you in Python 3, and we would go over what each of these options are, why you would use them in different situations, and things like that. All right. Well, that's about all the time we have. I just wanted to give you kind of an overview of some of the new types of things you could expect to see in Python 3, an understanding of, well, how we cover Python 2 versus Python 3 in the course. I'll look through, see if there's any other questions, and if there are, I'll do that. Let's see. With any of the labs, touch on cloud functionality, for example, automating AWS functions. So we talk about Python automation, the creation of Lambda functions in AWS. It is once you understand how to do Python and how to interact with the Python, different Python modules, you can easily apply those concepts there. We don't talk about creating Amazon Lambda functions in the course for, well, various reasons, such as just the availability of the Amazon clouds, forcing people to purchase the or to sign up for those accounts and some other things. So in this course, I don't get into that, but the concepts that we teach you are going to enable you to do that, and you can apply those concepts to this as well. All right, so that's just kind of an overview of the course. I appreciate you taking the time to come and listen to the course. I hope this has been useful in giving you some ammunition to give to your employers. There's lots of great opportunities to take 573 coming up in the next couple of months. And I think I pulled up this slide earlier that shows you just some of the offerings that we have going on for this course. And you can check these out at SANS.org, but there's actually many more than what you just see here on this slide. I'm looking for the opportunity to stand up some others. I see that it's running every couple of weeks. We got it in different time zones. So this is, if you're in Europe, then this is in a European time zone. This is on the West Coast time zone. So we're running some various time zones, and we're going to be setting up some additional schedules to accommodate evening calendars and things like that. So if you have an interest, please reach out to me. Let me know. If there's a schedule that you think would work better for you and your coworkers. We'd be happy to stand that up. If not, on demand is always an option as well. All right. Once again, thank you for taking the time and showing up. I hope you consider the class. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask or reach out to me. Thanks.